Council started out here after the 1997 mill fire. I'm not going to go into all the history, but basically the communities historically had very little response when there was a fire. You know, when there's a fire, the firefighters put it out, right? I mean, that's their job, right? And that's what they had always done, one way or the other, is put the fires out. And in 97, there were some issues regarding the fire that caused the citizens to be angry, especially at the Forest Service, and we thought that they weren't doing us any favors, and we were very angry, and we were, you know, having all sorts of community meetings, pointing our fingers at how evil they were. And as a result of that, we had some very good agency partners who kind of said, yeah, but what are you doing? And it made us realize as a community, we had responsibilities also. I mean, yeah, you know, there were the annual notices if you didn't do your weeds, but, you know, so what? You know, I was just saying that was the attitude. There was no engagement. And so because of that, we ultimately formed what's called a Fire Safe Council, which was an idea from the state of California, and it is to get the community involved. It's so that neighbor to neighbor we make a difference. I don't know about you, but when somebody in a uniform starts telling me what to do, I either get defensive or I shut down, I don't want to hear about it. You know, and that's how people were when you try to tell them what to do on their property, right? You're telling them what to do on their property. Who are you, okay? And that's how people reacted. And when you have a Fire Safe Council, I'm going to my neighbor and I'm saying, if you don't do this, my house is gonna burn down. If you don't do this on your property, our neighborhood's gonna burn down. So it's a little different type of communication because we have more power with our neighbors than you do. I mean, you guys can fine them. You can make their lives miserable financially, but they have to live with me. You know, so we have found that it is a different method of getting the word out. And in the last 20 years, we found it to be fairly effective. In 2003, in the spring and summer of 2003, we held a series of evacuation meetings because we knew the fires were coming. We knew the big fires were coming. And we held 4 evacuation preparedness meetings. What to do, what does it mean, how to do it, what not to do. The big answer for us on the mountains is leave. You know, we have a lot of people that don't want to. I suggest wherever you are, leave. Let them do their job. They can't do their job if they're watching out for you. So getting that message across was very difficult. But the results of those meetings were that in October of 2003, when the old fire came through, we evacuated, and I've heard the numbers anywhere from 60 to 100 and some thousand people off at the top of that mountain over 3 years, or over 3 days, and without incident, which is amazing. And I know that the Peter Brierly at the time and CAL FIRE Chief Tom O'Keefe credited those meetings with being successful, that the word got out to people. So that's part of what Fire Safe Councils do. The other thing we do is, besides educating people and trying to get them to understand why they need to do this, it's not just because it's on a code, on a piece of paper somewhere in a book. You do these things to protect your home. That's part of what we're talking about. We don't care what the code number says. You're doing this because the code is there to protect your home and to protect your property. So getting that message across is a big part of what we do. But we also know that sometimes people need help. And because of that, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. And that means that we can get grants. And we have been successful. Over the course of our 20 years, we've probably had about $2.5 million in grants. More recently, in the last 5 years, we've received just over $800,000 in grants. And virtually all of that money is dedicated to help people get rid of fuel, whether it's cutting down hazardous dead trees or doing abatement, which is how I'm fortunate enough to get to work with many of you in FHA. These are things that people may want to do, but they just can't. So we have little postcards that the FHA department sent out with its notices that would say, if you need help, call us. And then we had a program for our abatement and our trees where we will pay 10 to 100% of the cost of you removing that tree or clearing your property. And we do that because it provides an incentive. I have a lot of people that only get 10%, but 10% is better than nothing. And it's an incentive for them to do it sooner than later, okay? We offer this program even if they haven't gotten a notice from the county. okay? So it's a way to get the work done, because I don't want a fire on the mountain because you didn't do it because you were gonna do it next month or the month after or the next month. So we have seen a lot of changes over the years with the code enforcement and with the department. And I think in the last 2 years, we've seen the greatest steps forward to making the process understandable by the property owner. We had an abatement grant 4 years ago, and it was no big deal. We're gonna get the calls, we're gonna do this. And 90% of the calls we received were not for people wanting financial assistance. 90% of the calls we received were people trying to understand what the notice meant. Because here's the issue: if I'm gonna pay a contractor to go out and abate your property to be in compliant, he gets out there, he doesn't know what he's interpreting. You gave us a picture. It's real easy. Okay, I gotta get these weeds. So we also found things like abandoned cars on properties that didn't belong to the property owner and things like that. So that was really good too. So I wanna thank Julie and the whole department for the steps you're making forward. Even the calls we were getting with regards to interactions with county staff, way down on their issues. So thank you for that. So you're obviously being responsive and explaining things to people. So thank you for that. I would say this year, and I'm just sharing, I think the biggest challenge we had this year that in terms of input and what we received is 30 days isn't enough. 30 days to do it isn't enough. And I'll explain on our mountain, I can't speak for the rest of the county, but we have a limited amount of contractors. And sometimes it can take 2 weeks just to get one of them to return your call. And then you have to get a bid. And even if you tell them to do it, they've got a list like this. I can be very honest, we've committed to do, I think it's well over 200 properties that we have on our list. We still have about a third of those that we haven't got to, which in this weather is gonna be interesting. But it's just because there's only so many contractors, and getting that work done is a challenge. If you have anything besides weed whacking, you need somebody that's licensed, especially if it involves trees. You need somebody that's licensed, so their liability and insurance issues, and those guys are backlogged for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So just as a suggestion, 30 days isn't enough. So next year we can have those conversations. Last but not least, to continue this effort, we just applied for a $400,000 grant for abatement through the new CAL FIRE cycle, through climate investments. And we'll know probably in March if we get that grant. If we do, our program will serve all the way down into Waterman Canyon and all the way over to Big Bear. And it will be for 3 years. So we're hoping to do that. We are also meeting with people in the San Bernardino Valley, Angeles Oaks, Mill Creek, over in the north side, like the Little Mountain area. We're gonna be looking at forming fire safe councils and helping them get grants. Because again, if we have grants, we can help the people do it faster, give them some financial or physical assistance. Some people they can't do it. They're 112 years old and they just can't. And they have the money sometimes, they just can't get the work done. They can't call the contractors. We're also gonna be offering like a concierge service. We have people in Montana, they're like, I will pay you, can you do the work? And I'm like, no. But we're gonna be offering a service where we will charge them a small administrative fee, and we'll go ahead and get the work done for them at their expense. Because that's the one other type of call we got a lot of this year. I don't know anybody in Lake Arrowhead who, and I'll tell you what, Google everything you want, but you still can't tell what people are in terms of getting the contractors and stuff like that. So we're gonna be offering, that's gonna be something else. Hopefully that will reduce the type of calls that you guys get. And again, we're gonna be working on establishing new fire safe councils, which will be a good thing, because again, they're gonna be doing a lot of that work in advance for you. They're gonna be going door to door, neighbor to neighbor, and explaining why you need to do this, and don't wait. People seem to think that the work doesn't need to be done until the notice comes. It's like, the code is good 12 months out of the year. The requirements and compliance is required 12 months out of the year. So that's the message we're working on is, no, it's not just in June or May or whenever you get the notice. Don't wait for that notice, do it now. So that is, again, that's part of the Fire Safe Council's job. And our goal is to get that message out so that we will be fire safe and have defensible space for our fire agencies to protect our properties 12 months out of the year. So thank you again for including me today. I'm so excited to be here to get to know more of you a little more personally, and I am open to any ideas and suggestions you have on the messages that we can send out, how we can better be a part of the solution to this issue of fire. Fire is not going away. We've all heard, it's not if, it's when. That is real. We got through another early fall here. We still have fires in November, December. That's not uncommon. One of my favorite photos that I have is of a fire up on a ski slope. The ground is totally covered in snow, and there is a fire. Okay, it's like there's something to burn, it'll find a way. So we've got to get that message across. But we're here to be your partner. We're here to help you do whatever you need to do to protect our communities. So take advantage. We're open, we're willing, we're listening, and we want to be there and be the best part of the fire safe future. Okay, thank you. That way. And the water in Orange County was impacted to the tune of several $100,000 a year of additional treatments they had to do because of our fires and how it got into the water systems. It goes down there through the watershed. So again, I appreciate it tremendously, but for those of you that aren't in the mountains and don't really understand what the big deal is, the mountains are a gem of recreation and opportunity and a big part of economy and benefits to the community. So thank you for that, and thank you for all you do for us. But we're all in this together. Right.